I'm ready to rock and roll.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Sheepdog Project. Doc here, Tim right here by my side. Say hello, Tim.
Hello, Doc.
So, you know what I was thinking about? I was watching The Matrix. Have you seen the new show Badlands? Into the Badlands, actually.
I haven't. I don't have a lot of time for TV.
I know you're not a TV guy. I
don't even have cable.
Yeah.
Like
it
doesn't even go into my home. I have internet, and that's all.
It's a good show. Mm-hmm. It comes on after The Walking Dead, and it reminded me of The Matrix. Like the martial arts scenes.
Yeah.
I wish kung fu worked somewhere other than in The Matrix, because it just looks so cool.
It does look.
It looks cool. It looks cool.
Yeah.
Okay. What is it? Kicking tiger, puking dragon, whatever that is.
It's beautiful.
All that stuff. It's gorgeous.
The cinematography.
Oh yeah.
Like the. And they float.
Yeah. Iron Monkey. I don't know if you ever seen it. Classic kung fu movie. Yep. Great movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I wish that was reality. You know, floating through the air. You know, my crane technique better than your mantis technique type stuff. What do you think about that? What do you think about martial arts in general? You're a martial artist.
Yeah.
Several disciplines.
So I've been a martial artist for 30 years, and I love martial arts. I love competing in martial arts. I love competing in martial arts. I like that there is a way to compete in martial arts and test yourself and make sure that you're evolving and progressing as an individual and as an artist. What's the origin of martial arts? Where did it start?
You know what? You know where it started? It started in Genesis when somebody picked up a rock
and did
split somebody's head open.
Yeah, that was the beginning.
That was the first martial art.
That killed a dude.
Yeah.
So, you know, a lot of martial arts goes back to the beginning. If you trace back lineage to Japan, and the reason that they started developing these different martial arts was because they were being murdered. Because tyrants and dictators were coming along and being like, I want your stuff. You can't have any weapons. Now, you know, in this current age, it would be like, you can't have guns, or you can't have knives, you know. And they're like, man, this really stinks because we're just getting murdered every single which way. So we're going to develop a way to prevent you from killing me.
So you're telling me that the ruling elite had the weapons of destructive force and the common people didn't have that.
They did
so
not.
In order to fight back against oppression, they needed to develop martial arts.
Yeah, they had to get tools. They had to get techniques that the common man could learn through hard work and discipline and practice, and then they would not be so easily murdered. So the beginning was combat. That was the origin of martial arts, was combat. Now, everything has this evolved and morphed. This metamorphosis has occurred, and it's this diluted, disgusting, pathetic version of this beautiful, masterful, dangerous ballet of violence that it once was. Right? You have, I mean, even like my beloved jiu-jitsu in the past 10 years has lost focus of its origin. They forgot what it meant to be violent. That's the idea behind martial arts. It's to be able to efficiently do violence. To say, no, you're not going to kill me. You're not going to take my stuff. You're not going to rape my wife. You're not going to murder my kids. I'm going to be able to stop you because I have the discipline, the technique, and the tools that have been rehearsed and practiced thousands of times. And I'm just going to say no. And I'm going to be able to physically stop you. I'm not going to go into a De La Hiva and then like dive underneath to the X guard and then I'm going to look for this inverted heel hook. That's not what's happening. I'm going to take your face and I'm going to smash it into the ground. I'm going to make soup of everything on the front portion of your face. I'm not going to rear naked choke you, which is a great technique. You're going to choke on your own teeth falling through the back of your mouth with your own blood. That's what's going to happen. You know, if I want to get a rear naked choke, I'm not going to like go like this, try to get my arms underneath your chin. I'm going to take your face, I'm going to smash it into the ground, and then I'm going to grab your eyeballs. I'm going to pull your face back as I push one of your eyeballs out, and then I'm going to slide my arm underneath your chin. Hopefully, maybe even over the top of it, I'm going to break your chin as I choke you unconscious, and then I'm going to hold it for 3, 4, 5 minutes until you're dead, or until I can't hold it any longer because one of your other guys is going to come and I have to kill him too. That's the origin of martial arts. Whatever this is right now, the Shotokan karate, this point sparring in the Olympics, guys like 50 freaking kicks, not one of which would do damage to a single human being. It's about combat. Can we get back to that? Violence and lethality. You train so that you're hard to kill. Martial arts has come a long way in the past 15 years thanks to mixed martial arts.
Absolutely.
That's a sport. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. If I'm in a fight, everything that's not allowed in the UFC, that's what I'm going to be doing. Wait, so Dr. Simpson, you kind of know the human body.
Oh, a little bit, yeah.
Why am I not allowed to take a 12 to 6 north to south elbow to the back of somebody's neck?
Well, the reason is because somebody was watching late night TV and they saw somebody breaking ice blocks.
Huh.
But if you think about, let's look at the distance that you're traveling there. Okay, that's not a whole lot of distance, and that's not even the way that you're going to gain maximum power. There's plenty of other ways to get more power. A Superman punch has far more power loaded up behind it. A head kick, not even a Showtime kick, just a regular head kick, has far more force behind it. There's the amount of force, and again, it's all because everything is the curse of mainstream. Everything is the curse of television, of packaging. So somebody in the early days of the rulemaking in mixed martial arts saw that the guy with the sleeveless gi and a gut hanging over his black belt breaking ice blocks with his elbow, going 12 to 6, and said, "Oh, that could split a guy's skull open. We can't let people do that."
It can split a guy's skull open.
Well, but so can a lot of other things that are legal.
Yeah.
You know, now it's an effective technique when you're in close, because obviously you can't bring a fist out to do that. So it's a great way. If you're in tight like this, I can't get a full swing on somebody. It's a great way to neutralize an opponent.
I'll tell you what.
But is it more dangerous than a head kick as far as, you know, the damage that it could do? No.
If I'm on the ground and I have somebody's back, all of the things I'm not supposed to do, that's what I'm going to do. I'm not supposed to eye gouge, right? First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to reach around. I'm going to put my finger next to somebody's nose. I'm going to push in as hard as I can until I feel brain, and then I'm going to scoop out. And then I'm also not supposed to hit somebody in the back of the neck, below their head right here, like this spot right here. That's exactly where I'm going to hit them.
That's a great reset button.
Yeah.
That's a great person to hit somebody tonight.
I'm going to hit it one time, which will reset them. And then I'm going to hit them about 8 or 9 more times in the exact same spot. So then that reset button then turns to the off button. And then the off button, I'm going to keep hitting until it doesn't come back on.
Yeah.
And then like single joint manipulation, not supposed to do that. So you're not supposed to grab a single digit and move that around. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take every single digit I can possibly find and I'm going to tear it off. So those are the things that I always want to do. So here's an idea. The point to sports in martial arts, the competitive aspect of martial arts, was so that you could test yourself in a safe and practical way, the art and the discipline that you're in, so that you can become more proficient at it. But the art and the discipline that you're in is supposed to be, its origin, its genesis is combat and violence. Now, when the origin is less important than the play, than the competition game portion of the art, when that preponderance has shifted, then you've lost focus of what the art is, right? So you're supposed to get better at violence through competition, but what's happened is you're getting less good at violence, but better at competition, and that shift, those scales have slipped in the past 10 or 15 years.
Quite a bit. Again, it's the curse of mainstream. Yeah, and we've seen not only, you brought up Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, much more mainstream now. Imagine all of the even major cities 10, 15 years ago where you could not even study Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You know, Blake Hayes talks about being lucky to find a blue belt to learn from at one point, years ago.
I remember those days.
So as Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has become more mainstream, it's tended to become more watered down. As the UFC has become more socially acceptable, you know, it's not the VHS tape that we're smuggling from house to house anymore. Wow, this is cutting edge stuff. It's become packaged. It's become sanitized, and it loses some of that edge.
So the only reason I fought in the Ultimate Fighting Championship for Strike Force, for the IFL, the only reason I competed in mixed martial arts was to be good at violence. I wanted to be the world champion, not for anybody else, but to know that I was the best fighter, right? That I could then take those skills, I was the best fighter on the planet, and I could go into any different place, style, world, occupation, and I would be the most violent freaking dude there. I would be better at this. I would be better at this. You know, like, it's the only reason I did that sport was so that I could put my kit back on. And I have a chassis. I have a foundation that is solid, and whatever tools you gave me, whether it's a knife, a pistol, an SBR, a long rifle, I know violence better than anybody else on the planet. I don't think that motivation is there for most guys. I think they want the fame. I think they want the money. I think the point of martial arts was to be violent. And that's lost.
And that's, in the last couple of years, more and more, I think we've seen in mixed martial arts, people gaming the system.
Yeah.
You know, people, I know what I can do. I'm not a better fighter than the guy who's across the cage from me, but my takedowns are better. So I'm just going to keep taking him down, and we're not... I'm just.
You're making my nostrils
I know.
flare.
There's a certain term that I don't want to use because I don't know who's watching, but they're just laying on people, and maybe I'll let him get up again. And then when you're judging that, you're saying, well, that guy, he took him down 4 times. Well, he did no damage.
Sure.
He did no damage at all. The other guy, were it not for this rule set that we have, which is artificial, could have done damage to him and getting up each and every time.
Yeah.
And that's years ago. So I was a boxing fan as a kid. I stopped watching boxing after Leonard and Hagler. Because Leonard ran from him the whole fight. In the last 30 seconds of every round, he threw these flurries of very poppy punches that didn't do any damage. But every round finished with the judges going, well, Sugar Ray won that round. Sugar Ray won that round. And in between rounds, Marvin Hagler was saying to him, fight with me like a man.
Yeah.
And he kept saying, no. And he won that fight. And that was when boxing just totally lost it for me. I'm like, if somebody can get it, as much respect as I have for Sugar Ray, if somebody can get in there and do that, then this is a sport. This isn't fighting to me anymore. And this does not have the appeal that it once had to me. And I think we're seeing that in mixed martial arts now too.
We're seeing it everywhere.
People are figuring out how to game the system. We're definitely seeing it in sport jiu-jitsu. There are people that know I have 1 or 2 good moves that I can do, and I'm looking at the point. Every time, and I'm admittedly very low level in my jiu-jitsu, and I've only, I've done Naga competitions only a few times. I have never once in the course of a match looked over at the point clock to see how much time is left or to see what points are.
Yeah.
And I've won a few by submission. I've lost by submission. I've won on points and I've lost on points. But the one time that the first time rather that I won on points, I was up 9-0. I had no idea. All I know is I was still going for submissions, and the slippery bastard just kept getting away from me. And I was still going for submissions, and he just kept getting away from me. And then when we got up, I had no idea until they stopped us and stood us up, and I looked, and it was 9-0, and I'm like, wow, I didn't feel like it was winning. I felt like he was getting away from me.
Yeah. I think the turtle defense is a great example of what's wrong with mixed martial arts.
Right, and we talked about that. That was something that I started relying on in enrolling in class, and I caught myself. And only recently I've stopped doing that.
So that's where, for jiu-jitsu guys and for mixed martial arts fans, that's where people go belly down, and they cover essentially their ears and their throat. And in mixed martial arts...
The same position you were taught to do if you were attacked by a wild dog when you were like 6 years old.
You're covering vital things. And you're covering enough of your face where somebody can't do damage with strikes in the areas that you're allowed to punch.
Right.
So in mixed martial arts, if you cover, pretty much your jaw and your ears and your eyes, I can't hit the back of your head. I can't hit your neck. I can't hit anything that's going to really do damage anymore because everything that I'm allowed to punch is covered. In jiu-jitsu, the turtle defense, where you go belly down and you just sit there and you just protect your neck from chokes. You keep your elbows in so guys can't attack your arms. You keep your legs underneath you so people can't go for leg locks. And you keep your chin down so they can't go for any versions of a rear naked choke or any collar chokes. In a real fight, that means you're dead. That's what that means. So Kelvin Gesslem beat me up in my last and retirement fight for the Ultimate Fighting Championship. In the first 90 seconds of the round, I hit a takedown, body lock, put him face down. He turtled up, covered here. In the street, that's the end of the fight. I hit him 2 times, or I take his face and I put it in the cement. That's the end of the fight. We had a course last week in Washington, D.C. I had 2 very, very high level, black belts, guys that we were training with knives and guns. They started with the guns and I was grappling with them. In the course of us grappling, fighting for these guns and knives, I took the gun or knife from them, and they started diving underneath for heel hooks and leg locks. Mike, I had their gun. I have a gun.
Yeah.
Your leg lock does not work against a gun.
Don't bring a heel hook to a gunfight. That's probably the best advice.
You fight for the gun.
Yeah.
That's the whole entire point. The lethality and the violence and the combat and the origin, the genesis of what martial arts is you're fighting for your life. You're not fighting to score. You're not fighting to get a point. You're not fighting to get okay, even if you tore my knee off, I'm going to blow your brains out. I got it. I'm going to limp for a couple of days. If you can get that off before I can do this, which is
probably not happening.
Not likely. So that's one of the things that we go over in the course. We fight for guns, we fight for knives, and we show people there's not an easy solution. Here's a little fact for you. If you are looking for an easy way to get good at fighting, get out of fighting. It doesn't exist. If you're looking at an easy, quick way to take a gun or a knife for somebody, and you don't expect to be bloody and sweaty in the training and preparation of doing that, you need to find a different occupation. Everything about getting good at being violent takes violence. And violence is sweat. It's hard work. It's determination. It's hours and hours and hours in the gym. It's the only way you get good at it.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to break the wrist and walk away. You're not going to hit the back of the hand and the gun's going to go flying. Or you're going to do an axe kick and the gun hits the ground and you go gah, 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 and you take the slide off. That doesn't work. No. What works is violence of action and practiced fundamentals done and executed well to such a violent degree that it will take the fight out of everyone and anything that is probably within either eyesight or hearing of what's happening there. Now, you see me take a gun from somebody and then tear their eye out and then break their finger and then make soup of their face and then shoot them. Probably you won't want to fight that guy.
Typically.
You're like, that's not a gun. I'm going to go fight somebody else that doesn't want to tear my eye out and break my hand and then tear my shoulder off and then shoot me.
We talked about we started this out basically slamming kung fu, and then talked about our beloved jiu-jitsu and kind of where that's gone wrong. Even so, the martial art that you always hear about that's designed for what's the martial art you always hear about that this is gritty, this is no holds barred.
Krav Maga.
Krav Maga. Krav Maga. Krav Maga. And
those Jews, those Israelis.
I'll tell you what, Krav Maga, when I first saw it, I was like, wow, this is like next level shit.
Finally, somebody gets it. Somebody gets it.
You should be re-stomping the groin, all this stuff,
yep.
Right?
Headbutts, gouges, fingers. But
again, this is where, and this is not a slam against Krav Maga, but I'm going to say the same thing about it that I've said about everything else. Once it goes mainstream, once it gets watered down, once it monetized, and once you start seeing it in every strip mall in town,
you got a problem.
Then they become McDojos, and there are, and you and I know some legit Krav Maga instructors out there that are teaching it the right way. They're teaching you are in a fight for your life, and you're going to do whatever it takes. We know some of those people.
Yeah, we got Katie Fryer here in Austin.
Yeah.
She runs a Krav school here. She's awesome. She's violent and she gets it.
Yeah.
But then there's 9 other schools here in Austin
Yeah.
that I could take any one of my white or blue belts and throw them in that gym, or somebody that has been training Muay Thai or boxing or wrestling for 3 months, and they would tear every single person in that Krav school to bits and pieces.
Because, like you said, because money became involved. People
Yeah.
saw that there was a buck to be made, and it became watered down, and it spread out into suburbia.
Yeah. And the version of it that is here in the United States, like my friends in...
It's almost unrecognizable from what they're teaching in the IDF.
That's exactly what I was going to say. So friends in special operations in Israel, those guys are doing some really great work these days. Keep it up, guys. I realize everyone around you wants you to die, but know that there's a bunch...
Talk about living in a bad neighborhood. Yeah.
By neighborhood, I mean every single country that borders you has tried to wipe you off the face of the earth since 1948.
Yeah. But somehow they're a threat. They're like that big.
Yeah.
Somehow that's a problem. Hey, don't expand any of your settlements.
All right.
They're this big.
100% agreeing with you. What they do there is like nothing. What we do here in the United States, what Krav is here, like the Mossad guys are like, awkward. Don't call that what we do, because we do something different.
Right.
Like we tear your throat out and then stab you with a knife and then take your soul and then wipe our butt with it and then give you back your wiped soul, which has been recently wiped with my butt after you're dead. You know, I wouldn't want my soul back.
No, and they're doing it. They're sparring hard. They're wearing full kit when they do it.
So what is the common denominator to there? They're getting after it.
Yeah.
They're sweating.
Because there are no shortcuts.
No. There is not an easy road to being good at violence.
No.
Nobody's born with it.
Everybody's born with some level of a survival instinct, but the question is when you get the adrenaline surge, when it's fight or flight, which one of those 2 categories are you going to be in?
Yeah. And then which of those 2 categories have you tried to develop? Which ones have you tried to nurture? Which ones have you tried to add tools to? You know, I mean, some of the most gifted people in the history of martial arts, to boxing, wrestling, both Greco and freestyle and collegiate, the Bruce Lees, the John Jones, the Anderson Silvas, tremendously talented people. But the ones that became the greatest of all time was because they had a work ethic that was like no one else.
Mike Tyson always got up and did his road work before the sun came up. And he said, every time that I'm out there running, I think of my opponent still being in bed. And I'm out here before him. Therefore, I got the edge today.
I was there first, and I'm the last one to leave. You know, you asked Greg Jackson, I never became the best fighter on the planet. You know, I think I made a lot of mistakes in how I spent and allocated my time. You asked Greg Jackson.
I was going to say, in your defense, you were busy.
He would lock me out of the gym. No, you cannot come in today. I could have used a little extra talent. You know, I wish I could take some of that drive and that desire for hard work and put it into those guys that were just born with just a little bit more talent, you know, and see those guys and what they could do.
There's a line, you know, I'm a big movie buff, and I know I've seen a lot of movies that nobody else remembers. There's a movie I saw as a kid called The Jericho Mile, and it's about a guy who is gifted. He's a gifted runner, and it's a long story that I won't get into, but he's in prison, and this other guy comes to the prison, is trying to train him to try out for the Olympics, and he's telling him all these ways that he can improve and get faster. And he goes, "It sounds like you know all this. Why did you never go to the Olympics?" And he says, "I know how to run fast, but I don't know how to be fast." You know?
Yeah.
It's knowing the techniques and having the hard work and knowing that if I just do this a little bit different, it's going to help me is one thing. But there are the freaks of nature out there. Okay? John Jones is a freak of nature. Nobody's going to argue that. The guy is gifted. He probably could have gone into whatever sport he chose to dominate and dominated it. And there's a ton of guys out there that are like that. And I never, then the other end of the spectrum is you have me. I was never going to be a professional athlete, no matter what time I got up in the morning. Okay, and I'm not using that as an excuse. I just, I'm 5'6". I'm a Welshman. I'm built like a whiskey keg. It is what it is. And then in the, I'm not going to say in the middle because you're more towards the other end of the spectrum. Are guys like you who have tools and have the drive, have it here.
Yeah.
You've got it here, and you've got it here, and you've got it here, and you have the combination. And somewhere in the world, there are those special freaks that have it all. They're the freak of nature,
Yeah.
and they have the drive.
One every billion.
If that, your Jim Thorpes, the guys that just come along oh so incredibly rarely that can do all that stuff.
Yeah. I love it. I love seeing them when they come around, though. But I remember being in Special Forces selection and watching the little guys to struggle. They have to do the same distance. They have to have the same weight pack. They have to hit the same points. They have to hit the same speed. And watching those 5'6", 5'4", they're rare. Let's be honest.
I take a few more steps in a 26-mile road march than you do. Carrying the Sandman, everything goes downhill. So, and I was always the short in all those team events. I was the shortest guy, and the weight always goes in the direction of the shortest guy.
But they had something that the tall, athletic, talented guys didn't. They had a spirit that could not be dominated.
It's called short man complex.
They had a will that could not be subdued. They had a drive that couldn't be slowed. There's nothing. One of my very good friends, Justin. He's exactly your height. And he was a monster in selection when he got to Special Forces. Yeah, you see a lot of 6'2", 6'3", 6'4" guys on the Special Operations side. And then you see the shorter dude, and you're like, that guy's a mean son of a bitch. Because he had to be to survive. And martial arts needs that. They need to get their balls back. They need to remember what it was like to have teeth. That when you're trying to get a head and arm choke, you could turn your head a little bit and bite and tear their face off with your mouth. Just get a Scooby Snack, just get in there, just tear it off. I bet the choke's going to happen a little bit easier. We got to get our teeth back. I don't know what it's going to take for martial arts to take that turn again. Because the scary part is for that to happen, bad things have to be going on in the world. Right now, martial arts is getting diluted because nobody needs it. Guys are doing it as a hobby. They're not doing it so that they can fight for their life to stop their wife from getting raped. They're doing it because they want community. They want a sense of discipline and hard work. A sense of it. Mm-hmm. But they're just dabbling. Martial arts.
They're tourists.
Yeah. They're tourists into violence. Mm-hmm. Forget that. Yeah. No, that's not the point. That's not the origin. That's not the genesis. That's not where it began.
It's not a vacation destination.
No, it's not. It is a commitment, a life-changing one, to go down a road and go wherever that road leads. And that road is hard. It has a lot of topography changes. It's very high. There's not a lot of air up there. It's difficult to cross. It's going to take a lot of work and sweat.
And it's not a destination either. It's just a road.
It's just a road that keeps going forever.
I'm 51. I'm still today learning things about the art of violence. Every time we go to the range, every time we go to the gym, every time we teach a course, I'm learning something new.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah. And the guys who treat it as a destination and they walk out the day they get their black belt and that's it, I'm done. they made it all the way. Good for them that they made it all that way and they got their black belt. But they were tourists.
Yeah.
They were looking for the destination, not the journey.
Can we pause here and say bye to our live streamers? Can I see that? All right. Let's see here. All right. So Mike and I, we're gonna finish off this podcast, but haircut. Want to say thanks for listening. Well, I'll do another one in we got a shooting course tomorrow, and then I'm one of the hosts to the Second Amendment Awards at the United States Concealed Carry Association. Be there. And then I got to go to work, so I'm packing for a trip. I'm gonna post some pictures of some of the things that I need to take on a trip with me, to include a long gun, an SBR, a couple of pistols, a whole bunch of medical stuff, bunch of drugs. Not like drugs, like drugs.
Not those kind of drugs.
No, like the drugs that doctors give us in case we get shot. So, all right, love you guys. We're gonna go back to this podcast.
Hey, all you goons! You guys bugged me so much. I finally got an Instagram account, so follow me on Instagram at Dr. Mike Simpson.
Boom, Mike Simpson, Tim Kennedy. God bless America. If you're a terrorist, we're coming for you. If you're a Nazi, we're also coming for you.
Coming for you.
If you're a child molester, I hope you burn in hell forever. Like really, really, really long time. I'm going to do a live stream, and I'm going to get out of handcuffs, flex ties, duct tape, and that's a normal Tuesday night with me and my wife. Catch you later.
All right, so the live stream's off, but we're still recording on the podcast. What else do we want to talk about martial arts? So you know what? Here's the question on everybody's mind. So everybody's listening to what we're talking about, and the question on everybody's lips is, so where do I go, Tim? Where do I go? I do want to pursue that road of violence.
Yeah.
Where do I go? How do I separate the wheat from the chaff? How do I figure out that's a good place to go study martial arts and that's crap?
So, what are you drinking from? What does that faucet look like? When you walk in and you see a fat dude in a red gi with the sleeves cut off.
And a mullet.
Get out.
Yeah.
If you see somebody showing you form punches, so the punch is coming from the chest and they're driving out, yeah, and making sounds like that, leave. Okay?
I'd say any place, some would disagree with me. I don't think you would. Any place that makes you do katas. And for those of you that don't know what a kata is, it's basically a dance.
Yeah. It's a beautiful dance.
It's a beautiful dance.
And
if you're doing it as a celebration of fitness, that's a good thing. But if you're doing it thinking it's practical to use for self-defense, you're kidding yourself.
Before you walk through that door, you need to ask yourself some questions. You need to ask, why am I going? Why am I here? What am I doing here? What is the objective? What is the goal for me being here? If it's for fitness, if it's for community, if it's to get a little workout and meet some new people, awesome, man. I don't care where you go. But if you want to be somebody that won't allow evil to happen around them, that can't stand by and let a girl get beaten or raped, or watch a burglar kick in a front door and go in and try to take somebody else's stuff. If you're that person, then you need to most of all, need to have the highest selection, the most checks and balances of your instructor and the gym that you're training at. You need to find that place that has similar goals, that is surrounded by like-minded people that want to get better at violence. Where do you start? You start anywhere. You got to learn the basics. You got to learn the fundamentals. You got to learn what the guard is. You got to learn what a double leg takedown is. You got to learn how to throw a jab, how to throw a cross, how to throw a hook, how to throw an uppercut. You got to learn how to knee somebody in the face. You got to learn how to elbow somebody. You got to learn how to tear somebody's arm off. You got to learn.
You need. What's really important is you need to learn how to do all those things without hurting yourself in the process.
If you're at a gym that doesn't do live sparring that includes contact, then you have a problem. I'm talking to you, jiu-jitsu people. You're like, oh man, we live roll every night. Shut up! Get out. No, you do not. If you're not trying to hurt each other, like, I'm not saying damage and injure your fellow training partners. I'm saying like positional strikes or open palm strikes. If you're not doing that in your jiu-jitsu gym, you got a problem. If you're not fighting for guns or knives or staffs, sticks, then you have a problem. That is the point of martial arts, is unarmed lethality. It's so that if somebody has something that you don't, they aren't going to necessarily win. If they have a knife, while running's an option, it's not always an option. You better know how to fight them. If they have a gun, running is not an option, so you're going to have to know how to fight them. If they have a stick, a bat, if they just want to box with you, you better know how to fight them. No, that doesn't mean you have to box with them. You can do anything that's going to win the fight. But you got to know how to fight. So, Mike, what is fighting? I mean, what is, if we're talking about the foundation, we're talking pillars, we're talking about the fundamentals, what are those? What does somebody need to know?
First of all, you have to have, and we talk about this all the time, you have to have an adequate and honest assessment of yourself. What your state of fitness is, what realistically what your abilities are. Because ultimately when you decide to engage another in a fight, in unarmed combat, your goal is to do as much damage to that person is necessary to end it. If that's a fight for who lives and who dies, that's you go until the other person is dead. If that's a fight maybe on a street corner somewhere just to get them away from you or to neutralize them to the point that somebody can call 911 and somebody else gets there. We talk about this in Army combatives. The person who wins a fight is the person who wins until his friend with a gun gets there.
Yeah.
Okay? That might be your goal. You have to know realistically what type of situations you're going to be in, and you have to be prepared to keep pushing it to whatever level is necessary. And I think that always is going to start, like you said, you have to know what you want when you go in there. Not only what you want out of martial arts, but you have to know what martial arts can expect from you. You know, do you have any disabilities? Are you in the shape that you can do all the things? You know, I can't. There are certain moves that I can't do, certain things that I can't do because of the way that I'm built, because of old injuries, because of other things. So I have to work around that. But ultimately, if you're going to make this commitment, you need to understand that you might not get to decide where this fight stops because your opponent has a say in that too. So it might not be a matter, you know, in a real street fight, not every time does somebody tap and you stand up and you shake hands and go up to the bar and then have a beer together. It's not always that way. It might be, you know, you talked about it earlier, and the first person I ever heard say it was Trevor Prangley, you know, making soup. You know, you might have to sit there and make soup with somebody's face until they're not breathing anymore. Because the moment you go, all right, I want, you know, this isn't the schoolyard. This isn't, you had enough? You had enough? I'm going to let you up. You had enough? Or you give? You know, because if I'm a bad guy, oh yeah, I've had enough. And then as soon as you let up, I'm grabbing you by the crotch and sticking my thumb in your eye, and it's game back on again.
Yeah. You know, you have no control over the when a fight's going to happen, over where the fight is going to happen. Sometimes you don't even have control of why the fight is going to happen. You know, you don't even have control of what's going to be in the fight, when and where and why it does happen. So really, all that matters is what have you done to prepare yourself for that moment, right? And that's what this is. Okay, martial arts is one of those pieces of the pie. You know, it's one of the cornerstones of being ready for that moment. You know, shooting's part of it. being able to save somebody's life is part of it. Being able to resuscitate somebody, knowing CPR, knowing mouth-to-mouth, knowing the Heimlich, really just basic things about saving somebody's life. Having the right equipment there for that moment. Having an IFAK, having a tourniquet, having a gun, having a knife, having the right things for that moment.
Wearing clothes that you can realistically fight in.
Yeah.
Having I'm not knocking anybody's chosen way of grooming, but when I see a man bun, I see a good handhold to get a hold of somebody and start kneeing him in the face.
When I see an unkept beard, and I realize it's all the rave right now, I'm going to tear your face off with that beard. I'm going to get a grip of that beard, and I'm going to punch you until you're absolutely nothing left bone structurally in your face. I want a rear naked choke. Maybe I'm going to pull your eye out while I'm trying to get your choke, but I'm sure as hell going to be able to grab your beard and lift your chin up to get a choke in there. So again, being aware of your assets and liabilities. A beard, while it looks cool and it's very manly, and the war beard was made all the rave, it is a liability, without a doubt. So tough guys, flannel shirts, hanging out on the east side of town by the railroad tracks with a beard. You don't look tough. Those of us that know, no, you're not. So anyways, go on.
Baggy pants.
Wah, wah.
Baggy pants is I don't know if the kids are still doing that, but that was a thing for a while.
They are.
The baggy pants thing, the shoes with no laces thing, those are all in a fight. First of all, you're going to be knocked out of your shoes right away. Your pants are going to be down to your knees, and you're completely immobile. And then you're at whoever's mercy.
I love. I maybe have a little fetish for watching the little street fights. Mm-hmm. I love when a guy throws a combo and then he takes steps back and he tries to pull up his pants. I was like, no way.
That's where you go down. That's where the double leg comes.
Yeah,
right there.
I'm a spike W so hard. Not even like a double leg takedown. It's a double leg tackle. I mean, head is in the middle. The back of your head is going to be bouncing off the concrete or pavement as you lose consciousness. The last thing you're going to remember was, I got to pull my pants up. That's the last thing you remember. Then you're going to wake up. Maybe you'll wake up. Fundamentals, basics. Does that gym spar? Yeah, grappling, you got to take it up a notch. Just today, at my gym, at the Gracie School that I train at, we were striking each other. We had 3 different phases of our roles. We had kind of a cadence drill where on a metronome, every 10, 20 seconds, you had to try something else. So the whole entire time you're moving.
See, that keeps you honest.
Yeah. Forces you to not just depend on what you're good at. It gets me out of my comfort zone. And after a 5-6 minute round where it goes ding, 10 seconds, 20 seconds later, ding, and I got to do something else. You're like, my God, I don't have anything else to do. Then we did open palm strikes during grappling, in addition to our regular sports role. So that's a Thursday midday class. We're doing that. And this is at a Gracie Humaita, a total Hoyler school. So they exist. Here, there's a Krav school that's legitimate. We have Elton Wells, a local kickboxing coach that coaches MMA fighters. Rodrigo Cabral is the jiu-jitsu guy there. So they have a lot of extra pieces there. AK, Austin Kickboxing Academy. Randy Vera, a black belt in jiu-jitsu. Tessa, a black belt in jiu-jitsu. Both of them just got back from Thailand from competing as kickboxers in Thailand. So they get the whole picture. That is just here, right off the top of my head. 4 schools, all of which are awesome, all of which understand violence, all of which understand self-defense. No, they don't have, Delta Force, SEAL Team 6 superstars coming in there getting ready for, their next mission overseas. But they got people committed to getting good at violence. And any one of those guys from any one of those special units that walks through that door would get better at it for being there.
That was something that really impressed me about the Fort Hood Fight House, because up until I got to Hood, I didn't have a whole lot of time to for exposure to just regular Army combatives. And the full spectrum aspect of it, how well rounded it was, and that was the one time that I got to roll with Hoyce when he came out to visit. And I was really impressed by the fact, Hoyce showed up and they said, hey, he stepped up and basically taught the class for 30 minutes. And he wasn't teaching just regular sport jiu-jitsu stuff. He saw and identified right away what the overarching theme of modern Army combatives is. And he was teaching, some tie clench stuff, some push kick type style stuff, push kicks going into single legs, all stuff that was really practical from an actual fighting perspective, and that really just impressed me.
How often at a jiu-jitsu gym do you see guys in a week, a month, or even in a year have their students come in their regular clothes and train?
I've never seen it.
That's a problem.
Yeah, I've never seen it. I mean, you have gi nights and you have no gi nights. But I
don't remember the last time I was walking down the street in a gi.
No.
I also don't remember the last time I was walking down the street in a bunch of spandex.
Yeah, in Spanx.
Yeah. I wear what I'm wearing right now. What I got 5'11" pants on, super stretchy. Look at this. I could even get right in the splits.
We're not on camera anymore, Timmy.
No, but I can show you. I can do a little pigeon yoga move. I got a guerrilla warfare T-shirt on. I think I could fight pretty well in what I'm wearing.
I know. I am 100% sure I could fight in what I'm wearing now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wearing Carhartt cargo pants. I've got an Under Armour shirt. This is all comfortable enough. It's loose enough. It reacts to my movements enough. I could gravel dance in this. I mean, this is exactly what I was wearing when you and I were crawling in tunnels in South America. Yep. I could gravel dance in this, no problem. But I'm going to be devil's advocate for just a second. So let's talk about those jiu-jitsu schools. Okay, I'm a guy that owns my own jiu-jitsu academy. So I got to put food on the table, right? What do people want? People, they want to put on the gi and they want to do that and they want to go compete in Naga or IBJJ or whatever it might be. And like you say, most of the people that I'm coming in, most of my revenue are from the tourists. Let's be honest. I mean, the people, the sheepdogs are going to be about 3 to 5% of society. If that's all my school is geared toward, I'm probably not going to be able to put food on the table. I'm probably not going to be able to feed my family.
Yeah. So Austin is, I think, a really great subsection of the rest of the country. It's in Texas, so people are like, wait, you're in Texas. Texas isn't like anyone else in the rest of the country. Yes, that's true. But Austin is more similar to California than it is anything else.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, not only is it a blue city where the vast majority of the people that vote here are Democrat, it also has the progressive mindset of passivity and open-mindedness and the liberal approach to tolerance. Those are all the key words. If you go to city council meetings, those are the things that they say. So even here in Austin, the most successful schools in this massive city are the ones that know violence. Now, they get how to be financially successful. They have the revolving door of class after class. They have the self-defense classes. They have the kids classes. They have the women's only classes. They have no-gi jiu-jitsu. They have gi jiu-jitsu. They have Muay Thai. They have all of the pieces of the puzzle that make it a comprehensive program. And if you have a comprehensive program, then you can market, you can really advertise it any way that you want. And then if you, as an instructor, so as a black belt, as a special forces guy, as a guy that still does real work, I love jiu-jitsu. I like going in and rolling and having nice relaxed nights. I also like to go in and get better at what I do. I don't want every night to be about putting on body armor and practicing muzzle thumping somebody in the face. I do that, and we do train that all the time. But I also need to get good at the basics and the fundamentals, which is working on double leg, which is working on throwing a jab. So school owners that are listening, black belts, instructors, anybody, you can make it work. You have to first believe in the origin and the genesis, the beginning of what martial arts was, and stop doing it a disservice. Stop diluting it. Stop making it this pathetic embarrassment. I don't know. I mean, there's nothing martial about it. It's now just art. And I like art. But it's supposed to be a ballet of violence, not just a ballet. So you can make it work. And if you're a student looking for those gyms and you're in a bad place right now, or you have limited options, have a discussion with your coaches. Have a discussion with your black belts. Have a discussion with your sensei. Have them listen to this podcast. Tell them that something has to change, that they're not helping you prepare for the most important moment of your life, and that's when you have to fight for it. Be honest and just accept and realize that it's going to take sweat, blood, and hard work to get good at it.
Something I think we see in a lot of martial arts academies that's a little bit of a microcosm of what we saw over thousands of years. We talked about the dilution of martial arts. And not only was it because of packaging and marketing and monetizing and everything else, but it was also a little bit of this mentality that a sensei would have, that my way is the only way.
Yeah.
And that's the death. When you paint yourself into that corner. And that's when, I study at Georgetown BJJ, which is an affiliate of John's Gym in North Austin. And if you go into John's Gym, the first thing you'll notice is they're geared for everything. There's a traditional boxing ring in there. They have Muay Thai there. They have Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu there. There is no my way is the only way. It's if it works. There's a saying we use in the military all the time. If it's stupid but it works, then it's not stupid. So anybody who paints themselves into a corner martial arts wise, and Hickson talks about that. I heard Hickson talking about some guys that became black belts under him. He overheard them saying, no, this is it. We're teaching jiu-jitsu in this fashion. If you want to learn all that other stuff, go to a Krav Maga gym or go to one of these UFC affiliate gyms or something like that. This is what we're teaching here. And that goes totally against his teaching.
Yeah.
So I think you have to seek that out. If you're talking to, and especially if you're talking to some instructor in whatever discipline it is, and he's convinced that no, my way is the only way. This is this is Wing Chun. This is the purest form, or this is Tang Soo Do or Taekwondo or Shotokan, and this is it. This is the way it is. And oh yeah, well the reason you don't see any of our guys in the UFC is because ours is real fighting. As soon as we flip that switch, we're going to kill somebody, and that's why we're not using it. If they're not, like you said, doing live sparring, real live sparring, if they're not letting iron sharpen iron, then you're never proving yourself.
No.
If it's just about katas, if it's about too many rules, then you're continuing to go down that path where you're painting yourself in the corner with bad habits. And like we talked about before, we talked about it in this episode and we talked about it in previous episodes, I was going down a path where I would turtle guard until somebody made a mistake and take advantage of it. And I thankfully caught myself doing that, and I realized what a stupid thing. I could probably go through years of sport jiu-jitsu and do that and win my roles every class and win in tournaments and progress in belt levels.
And you would get murdered on the street.
And I would get murdered on the street. And I'm so glad I came to that realization. I'm like, in my mind, I was seeing it as efficiency, and then I realized it was a combination of laziness and very poor awareness of why I was doing what I was doing.
Yeah. So, practice does not make perfect. Practice makes permanent.
Yeah.
Perfect practice is what has to happen. And when we're talking about martial arts, it has to be practiced perfectly. And what is it that has to be practiced? It's violence.
Yeah.
It's your efficiency to hurt somebody else or to not get hurt yourself. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about truly the beginning of what martial arts was, not what it is, what it was so that you would not get murdered, so that you could stop somebody from hurting you or yours. If you are not doing that, something has to change. You got to change. Your gym has to change. Something has to give because you're just spinning your wheels right now. Practice perfectly. Practicing perfectly will make it permanent. And once it's permanent, then you are a violently capable thing. A new thing, a beautiful thing, something that has been sharpened, something that has been pounded, something that has gone through the refiner's fire and that is ready to survive.
Absolutely. That's a great point to end this, and we are coming up on the hour. I'm going to close today. We talked about martial arts, so of course there could be no other person that I could possibly close with a quote with other than the immortal master himself, Mr. Bruce Lee, who said, "Do not pray for an easy life. Pray for the strength to endure a difficult one." Wise words to live by, everybody. Thank you for listening, and until next time, be a sheepdog.
Wow.
You have been listening to the Sheepdog Project. Follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Sheepdog Response. The views expressed on this podcast are those of the individual and do not represent any larger entity, public or private.